This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. My name is Becca Dukes, and I am excited to have you on with us, watching, learning, because folks, we sometimes get stuck, especially when we're having these poor health conditions that we're not able to figure out, tests and everything, going through all the things, and they just can't find anything wrong with us. Or if they do, all the solution that they have is to throw more and more pharmaceuticals to mask symptoms. Well, on this show, we are all about empowering you as an individual to find a better health journey. A health journey that is actually feeding the body the nutrition that it's missing. Now, we can eat food all day long, but that does not mean that we're giving the body nutrition. Because folks, with over 600 different diseases that are nutrient deficient, not calorie deficient, nutrient deficient, there's a lot that we can do on our own in making sure that we are supporting this temple that we have been given to its optimal best. We're going to be talking more about that now. For those of you who are joining us, you're new to us, if you have any questions, we want to make sure that you get back with the person that shared this program with you. Chances are they are one of our amazing community as a certified holistic health coach. And they share this program because we are a resource to this community, a tool in their toolbox that allows them to be able to share the power of nutrition without them having to figure out, well, what do I say? Well, they know what to say, but we are here to help them in giving a third-party validation when it comes to what nutrition can really do for you when you put it in the body, because it's not going to do anything if it just sits on the counter. But it's not just any nutrition. So for myself and for our guest, we had tried lots of different nutritional aspects or directions. and we just weren't finding the results that we were looking for. And after trauma, which we both had, we had discovered that there were so many different poor health conditions that the medical system just wasn't helping. So it is my honor and privilege as the hostess of this program that is sponsored by dailywithdoc.com to bring it to the screen with me. Just an amazing, beautiful person that I am so honored to have on our show. Folks, let me introduce to you Rheána Jackson. So Rheána has been an energy healer for over 2 decades, a trained Reiki master teacher and KS healer. In 2000, she received her Bachelor of Science degree in contemplative psychology with a minor in Eastern and Western medicine from Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado. In 2004, she received her Reiki mastership. She has had her own healing practice and taught, certified, and attuned many Reiki students over the decades. She enjoys teaching classes and guiding others along their health journeys, as well as passion for offering intuitive readings and healing to pets. She has advanced training in elderly caretaking with special certification Alzheimer's care. She is a trained Cathara, I probably butchered that one, Cathara healer in colonic science, the healing arts of the anatomy of the spirit and the cosmoverse. She's gifted. She is a gifted healer specializing in trauma healing, PTSD, inner child integration, and space clearing, with helping spirits move to the other side. Her own personal medical journey from a devastating traumatic car accident in 2016 resulted in her own 30 medical diagnoses. This spurred a deeper dive into diagnoses and nutrition, which led her to discover our very own Dr. Joel Wallach and the longevity nutrients that he is the founder of. These nutrients revealed the most significant changes in her body's healing. It took her out of a 5-year stalled, plateaued level of symptom management to genuine reversal of her medical conditions, revealing the missing piece to giving her body's cells the nutrients they needed to rebuild and repair. This combination with energy healing is the genuine path to recovery, and she's now dedicated to helping others discover this truth and get back to thriving. Now, Rheána.
Yes, ma'am.
30 different medical diagnoses.
Yes.
I mean, I thought I was bad with 17, but 30. Tell us a little bit about your experience and where you were as far as limitations and mobility, and just share a little more into that story, if you would, please.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here and to share my story with this community, especially. I feel really honored to be a part of this community. The 30 diagnoses is my Lord. It's been a journey to uncover all of them with all the specialists and surgeons and on and on and on, and trying to navigate the whole medical world after not dealing with Western medicine for nearly 40 years outside of a couple of surgeries that were pretty easy to heal from. So I had what I call like the backstage pass to see it all. And through it all, I've gained a great deal more compassion and understanding that now I'll be able to extend to all my clients and patients moving forward, and to friends and loved ones. Where do I start? There's just so many. Do I go into the diagnosis, or which direction do you want to go with this?
Let's focus on symptoms, because diagnoses, they have so many different symptoms that can be related to a diagnosis, and some of them are so overlapping. It's like Okay, which one do you have?
Yes.
Let-
Right.
Let's just focus on some of the symptoms that others might be able to relate to.
Yeah, I honestly went from living my best life to pretty much living in my bed for the majority of 2019, 20 into 2021, which luckily there was a pandemic happening. So there wasn't a whole lot to, to be a part of. So, you know, in the bigger context of things, that's a good time to be bottomed out, I suppose. But the symptoms were massive chronic fatigue, pain that was so intense that my entire body was spasming for up to an hour to 90 minutes until I'd finally reach the point where I'd finally pass out from pain, and just begging honestly to finally reach that point and reach in a place where I didn't want to wake back up. So the most extreme of symptoms that the human condition could ever experience, honestly. It's hard to even talk about because my emotional body kind of goes back there, you know, and I can feel my chest shaking, and it was a really, really rough time. But the fatigue was life altering because there's a difference and a distinction between depression and fatigue. And I think a lot of the medical community gets those confused. And then there's even a more discerning factor of what the cause is. And a lot of times that the medical community is not testing for. You know, it can be heavy metals, for instance, that cause a lot of fatigue. It can be um, thyroid issues, which I ended up coming down with Hashimoto's as well as hyperthyroidism. It could be a mental health disorder, and there's so many layers to the way this conversation can go that we can uncover the things that I've discovered. And it sounds like with your 17 conditions, you've probably discovered that you don't even know that you need help with until you get into that position. And then you're talking to doctors, and then you realize that the doctors don't even know to ask you or to test you the proper way to uncover these things. And so I was blessed to have a handful of newer people that came into my world that actually identified that I had a traumatic brain injury. And that's another reason or cause behind the chronic fatigue. And I had another friend that recognized that I had what they are now calling myofascial encephalomyelitis, which is another word for chronic fatigue syndrome. I guess it's a little bit more extreme, maybe on the spectrum than chronic fatigue. I haven't dug in that enough to understand the distinction there, or if it's just a whole new diagnosis umbrella word that they use. But just it feels like somebody's attached a vacuum hose to the back of your body and sucked all your energy out. That's how it feels, which is very different. I went through a bout where I was depressed in a really bad relationship, and that's more of like where you beat up on yourself. I think the essence of depression tends to be where you turn energy back on yourself, and then you get really down and spiral down in that kind of a way. And that I wasn't having any negative thoughts. I was just zeroed out energetically. So it's interesting to learn that distinction too.
So you had a car accident in 2016.
Right.
Was there like physical bodily harm that occurred during that? Because I know like, from car accidents, we could get the trauma of the car accident itself can cause some mental issues. You had mentioned that you had a brain injury. Was that from that same accident?
Right. It was.
What other things that event triggered within your body?
The way that my body was positioned, the way I was hit was what caused a lot of the damage. It didn't seem like that bad of a car accident, and I was honestly, you know, the healthiest that a person could be. I even had a little 4-pack, you know what I mean? Like I was very in shape and good health, and when the guy hit me, I was at a dead stop. I had my arm extended on the wheel, my left arm on the wheel. And so it pinned my neck back and rattled my head really fast and furious against the headrest. And so that force was a lot different than, say, if I had the full length of the entire whiplash and the full length of my body going forward and back. And it tore muscles from my scapula bone, and it damaged my neck in such a way that the natural C curve was inverted backwards. So that, which interesting, when I found Dr. Joel Wallach and your new book that you guys have written about, what's the diagnosis called?
Is it the osteoporosis of the skull or
the osteoporosis of the skull
or metabolic syndrome?
That's I haven't gotten that one yet, but the one in, yes, that one I've gotten, and it's fantastic. And because of the C curve being inverted, the opposite direction, it caused a lot of those things that are mentioned in the book. And we could go through the list of the symptoms there. So it affected my olfactory system. It ended up affecting my tongue, ended up having these strange spasms. I still to this day am healing and in PT twice a week. And thank God for proactive PT. And Aurora Tay and her team are phenomenal. I've been through 7 other physical therapists, and this team truly listens. And I have all these strange diagnoses that doctors, as he started off the video with, didn't understand. So this strange spasming of my neck that still happens every time I lay down at night and starting to fall asleep. There's a lot of bulging disc. I have 2 in the cervical area and 1 in the thoracic area. It caused osteophytes to form on the bone edges. Lots of strange, what do they call those, where the tissues and the muscles all coagulate together into these balls, and the nerves are really painful in between the rib cage and the intercostal areas. So I've had to do these like strange stretches to reverse a lot of the pain and pinch those points out. And yeah, it's the pinching of the vagus nerve that's been the hardest part. So I think that's cranial nerve number 10. Yes. It comes down, that thing is like a monster, and a lot of doctors don't realize that. And I didn't know that they didn't know that. So it took me almost 5 years of dealing with doctors and all these specialists. And finally, they led me to a neurologist, and I ended up, the universe kind of worked it out where I had a PCP that came in, primary care doctor, who happened to be a brain surgeon that somehow stepped into being a personal care provider. And so he understood the vagus nerve connection. But this nerve is not like the rest of the nerves. It's literally like an octopus that comes in and connects to every single organ throughout the entire body, right? And the connection in my injury ends up pinching that nerve, and for whatever reason, I can feel exactly where it runs down into my gut, into my GI, and then it feels like a pinching off of the small intestines is what happens. So every time my physical therapist adjusts my neck to the left side, it pinches that nerve, and I have massive spasms, 10 level spasms, where I'm literally crawled up in fetal position, often on our table, trying to get through the pain. So that's been some of the strangest symptoms that I've had manifest through all this. Doctors don't understand it. The physical therapist literally sees it. So.
Yeah, doctors don't understand it. And we, as the individual experiencing it, can't really explain it.
Right. It's tough to put in words.
It is. But whenever I heard about Dr. Wallach and the vagus nerve and how all the nerve endings attach to different parts of the body, it just made sense.
Right. And there needs to be so much more emphasis and understanding about that nerve and its impacts, because Dr. Wallach also points out in that book that it can be pain in your feet that's caused from the pinching off of these cranial nerves. And I've met several people that have that symptom. And again, the Western doctors are trying to address it at the foot level instead of understanding that it's in spine and it needs to be addressed all the way up here, right? So that's, yeah, another beauty of Dr. Wallach and his understanding of things. And I'm so grateful, honestly, through my soul to have found him. I feel like he's just this angel that isn't understood and, underrepresented in our world. So you guys are doing such a phenomenal job in getting the information out about him. I'm
Well,
part of that.
Well, we're honored to have you. And I know he's on with us. He's listening. So I know he's not going to get a big head. But Doc, you are definitely an angel. Because of your work, many more people are figuring out that there's a lot we can do as individuals in our own health, and nutrition is a core to that.
Yes.
So, Rheána, you've been practicing as a healer for decades.
Yeah.
And then you became the person that needed you.
Right. And luckily I understood the trauma cycle and have been able to guide myself through a lot of that process throughout this, because I've certainly had the trauma fight or flight triggered a billion times in the midst of the last 8 years or so dealing with this. But I needed to have this understanding of how the connection of the gut and giving the cells the power, essentially what these nutrients are doing, are giving them their power to be able to reheal themselves and regenerate themselves. And I haven't even gone into the GI obstruction surgeries. I've had 3 of those now. And so there were points where they literally drained everything out of my GI. I describe it as those big gulp cups that you get over at 7-Eleven. I had like 5 of those that they drained out, which was interesting because of course it's brown, but it also had green bile in it. So you don't expect all, I didn't expect all that to come out. And so once they cleared it all out, then they attached me to 3 bags, which was sodium, potassium, and protein. And I lived off those bags for a few days while they got into my intestines and got the obstruction out. So with the nutrients being, and my own body's bacteria, everything being drained out, in a way, it was kind of like a reset, which I'm grateful for, but I didn't realize how much I would have to regenerate all of that. And I didn't have the tools and the nutrients to do it until now. And within, honestly, 6 weeks of having just the 90 essential in my body, like I mentioned, the 5 year that I felt like I was just plateaued, I was starting to notice that I was living out of my bed more than I've been living in my bed. And that the fibromyalgia pain, which is very different from the spinal pain of the active injury that my physical therapist is still unwinding. Fibromyalgia pain, well, when they diagnose it, it's these points through the core, the center of the body, and then down into the feet. And I think a lot of that was just that the body needed these nutrients to be able to restore. And then I've slowly felt that pain go away, and I've been able to get off my a lot of my medication since then, which has been fantastic, and switch over to the thyroid, which the Ocean's Gold is the one that helps the thyroid, and that's been tremendous for my thyroid. It'll be interesting to go back and retest because I'm literally in this process now. I think I'm, 12 or 13 weeks now into taking the nutrients. So I'm really just a baby into this, but doing so much better. It's amazing to me how quickly you turn around with it.
And that was something that I experienced as well, is how quickly when I gave my body on a consistent basis the nutrients, it was unreal. It's like, how could something so simple make such a positive impact in changing everything?
Everything.
Everything.
Literally everything.
Yeah. My mind being more clear, be able to focus, function, get out of bed, roll myself out of bed, take care of my own son because I had a toddler. It's just crazy. And then to have the pain dissipate. Now, you're 12 weeks in being on the supplements. You're not 100%,
No.
but has it been worth it?
Oh my God, yes. I want to like shout it from the rooftops to everybody. Like everyone needs these nutrients. This is the missing puzzle piece to health. It really, genuinely, truly is, and we don't know that. And it's just such a strange paradigm twist that you go through in your brain because we've all been indoctrinated. We've all been told that once you have these particular diagnoses, you're going to live with them for the rest of your life. Sorry, here you go. You're going to be on these meds. Just get you a med pill box, and this is how it is for the rest of your life. And I never accepted that as an energy healer, and I've always been more attuned to the natural medicine. And as I said, when I started off, I luckily didn't have to deal with a lot of the Western model until this injury. I'm grateful to have the experience now, but I still lean much more towards the naturopathic way. A lot of that, and I'm just very blunt and straightforward. So I'm just going to say the things that a lot of people don't say, but there's an ego to the Western doctors where they think they've got it all figured out, and they unfortunately don't listen in a way that's productive to help truly work together as a team to find the solutions. So I ended up dealing with all these doctors that were gaslighting me and acting like I was crazy when I knew my body. And I've been a healer for 20 years. So I knew, come to find out, I know now because of Dr. Wallach's information a lot more than they do, you know. Not that I'm going to go the ego route and say that, but it's just true. And so luckily now I got rid of those doctors and have found some really phenomenal doctors we'll work with now that are very open-minded and willing to learn from me as much as I learn from them. And I'm teaching them these things, and some of the nurse practitioners and PAs that I'm working with. So I'm introducing them now to Dr. Wallach and the nutrients and stuff. And that's how it should be. And that's why I got a minor in Eastern Western medicine at Europa. It was because I knew from the beginning that this is the key is for both of them to work together, Eastern Western medicine, and then we'll figure out the whole picture. Yeah. I feel like I'm going off on tangents. You have to reel me in sometimes.
Well, no, I think you're absolutely right, though. And I love the fact that you do have the experience of both sides, both book knowledge and now physical, personal experience and knowledge, that you're able to help your own clients better.
Yeah. Once I get back to doing clients, right now it's still about me, but I'm getting to that point very soon. Yeah. Because of the nutrients, I start to feel like I can start booking and being reliable and those kind of things I haven't been able to do for years. And that's been hard, you know, to talk about the mental health aspects of it, and losing my businesses. I had a Reiki business as well as a cleaning business for 20 years. And I've always run both and always had the energy of 5 people. And as I shared with the team before, that I was writing a book, and I'd already written over 300 pages in that, and created a board game. So I mean it when I say I had the energy of 5 people. I always have. And so now I feel like I've got the energy of like maybe one person. I don't know. But I want to get back to the point where I've got the energy of 5 again. And part of the ME, the myofascial encephalitis, is constantly managing the expectations and my mental wants and desires to be there, but my body not being there. I'm sure you can relate to that. Anyone who's had chronic pain and illness, that's a huge part of the mental health part of it, is just managing that, dealing with that.
So do you see hope now that you will get back to that
100%. And
or
I'm
get
one of these,
closer, get closer?
yes, I'm one of these where I'm going to heal 100% or die trying. Just that's been one of my strongest attributes in my life is that I'm one determined woman. Like I'm going to dedicate it to doing everything I got, yeah, to get there. So I know it's a long journey still. And, I have my good days, like today's a good day. And, that was part of the issue as well. I was talking about mental health with it is that people see me on a good day and then they can't imagine that I'm bottomed out for 2 days in my bed too, and so the gaslighting that happens with that or the misunderstandings with even with friends was really hard to manage. And I didn't have the energy to catch people up on how much I'm struggling. And so I just had to let go of a lot of people too. And I've heard that from a lot of people who go through chronic conditions is you end up losing. So then there's a grief aspect too, having to grieve the loss of so much, not only the loss of your lifestyle and everything that I built for 2 decades, but also all the friends and relationships too. So again, I feel like I'm going off on the tangents and bringing all kinds of aspects in here. If that's okay. Reel me back in, Becca. Reel me in.
All right. So are you having more good days and bad days now?
Yeah, I can honestly say now I am, but it's only been the last few weeks, literally few weeks, not months. Yeah, and that's because of the nutrition, the nutrients only. That's the only thing different in 5 years.
Yeah. And you were on pharmaceuticals?
Yes, still have a handful right now. I'm on 2 painkillers just to deal
Less than you had though.
Less than I had. Oh yeah. I was, at a point I was on like 20 pills a day. Yeah. And now I'm down to, what is it, 5 and then 3 topicals. Yeah, liking patch and it was a sodium diclofenac. It's another painkiller.
Right.
Topical.
Well, and I think one of the most important things about your story to share with others is when you're looking at the body and giving the body what it needs, it takes 7 years for cells to regenerate. You're not going to have instant anything. Right. But the fact just in 12 weeks, you've had some incredible advancement, improvements.
Yeah.
Is pretty spectacular.
Yeah,
and it just is going to
keep going. Life-altering differences, not just minor. Yeah, it really is that big of a deal. Yeah, when I've just been plateaued for years and years, showing a little bit of improvement here, a little bit there, and then this drastic change within a matter of weeks is I'm still processing. I'm literally still in a state of shock with it where I'm like, is this really? It's real. Oh my God, just, it's a lot
right
to take in. And I know it's hard for other people to understand it and to believe it. And I have patience with that too, but it really is that real. Yeah. I find myself grappling with it myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And, for it just, it tickled my heart. Isn't the right word, but to see other people that are coming from a state of even worse than where I was and being able to really truly feel the difference that quality nutrition that's synergistically formulated to work together and absorbable are feeling the difference.
They're miraculous. There's no better word. I know there's so much misinformation out on the internet and in our world, and there's always this is going to heal you and do this, and there's 3 steps, and it's just a bunch of nonsense. Unfortunately, because I've tried a lot of them, and I think that's part of what is maybe difficult to get across with this message is for people to hear it and to really take it in is because there's been so much of that nonsense in our world. And so it's hard for people to believe but all I can do is share my experience and encourage others to try it themselves and see if it's what they experience in their own bodies. And I feel like it's important to also inject in here that I'm almost 50, so I just turned 49 in May. And so another part of what's being overlooked in our medical world is women that are premenopausal, and the understanding about menopause and how much that impacts our bodies as well, and the nutrients addressing, balancing out the hormones. And we could do a whole nother episode just about that. There's so much just for women's health alone that needs to be talked about and addressed. And it feels hopeless in that area, and it feels hopeless in the area of chronic fatigue, and it feels hopeless in the area of those extreme levels of pain where I literally passed out from pain nearly 30 times, and all they can do is give you these medicines that take down the pain maybe 3 notches, which from a 10 down to a 7 is that's unbelievable relief comparatively. But I've tried pretty much every painkiller out there except fentanyl now, and I've been on several of them because of the GI obstruction surgery, so I can speak honestly about them. And maybe 3 to 4 notches at the most, and it just, you start to feel like there is no hope. And that's part of what these nutrients give you, is finally there genuinely is hope again. Not only hope, but that you can reverse it. And having a specialty in Alzheimer's as well, and knowing that you can reverse that. God, I wish I'd known that from my grandfather. There's just so many things that I look back on, clients that I wish I had not had this information, because I always knew there was something else that I couldn't refer to them, and now I've got it. So it feels like I've got the whole picture now.
That's fantastic. And we have comments that are coming in on the different platforms. Out on YouTube, it says Rheána said that she's taking care of self first. That's the best advice ever.
Yes.
I agree, Rod. And then we have a question. How did you discover you needed nutrition?
It was actually the Hashimoto's, where a doctor mentioned that she had seen other clients that had Hashimoto's get better by getting rid of gluten and dairy. So that day I went home, and I had a roommate at the time. She had already gone vegan, so it was no issue with her. We cleared out everything that had gluten and dairy and just got rid of it. And within 3 days, I noticed a considerable, huge difference in my energy level. And then I started to go down this deep dive on the internet around that information, and knowing this has more to do with gut health. And I've always heard that the gut is the second brain, right? You've heard that, right?
Yes.
Now I'm starting to understand a bit more what that means. And I decided to focus on the doctors who have proven that they can reverse and truly heal things. So I came across Dr. Sabi and Usha Village, and Dr. Bobby Price, and his incredible journey of healing himself and all of his nutrition, and a plan on ordering his fruit in a box. He has an orchard there in I think it's South Miami area, but somewhere in Florida.
Oh, wow.
So he's been hugely inspiring, and Dr. Joel Wallach. And I feel like I'm forgetting one. I'll circle back to that. I still have some brain fog. That's one of the symptoms we forgot to list. Yeah, huge brain fog. But that then led me to yeah, the understanding that Dr. Sabi, I believe he went all the way to the Supreme Court level. Dr. Joel Wallach went all the way to the Supreme Court level, and Wallach was able to prove enough to get 22 of these nutrients in the baby formulas. Is that right?
Well, I know selenium, and I think folate was another one that were huge, that were the FDA required them to start adding. And
Right.
that made a significant difference on early childhood disease.
Yeah.
And then making sure folic acid, not folate, folic acid. And thank you, Ruth Ellen. And then putting them into prenatal vitamins, which when taken early enough,
They can
you
prevent.
can you
right?
can you ward off
Ward off.
the burst of. So but you know, Dr. Wallach's formulas are far outweigh, they are superior to any prenatal vitamin. In fact, I wish I would have Dr. Wallach when I was having babies.
Right.
Because you know, some of my kids have some things that they struggle with. But now they're able to push through and thrive and continue to do and be their best self. And that's part of our story here is you may not get 100% everything being perfect. But when you give the body what it needs, it can then go into the mode of being its optimal best. Like with surgeries, there's surgeries that have gone bad that may not be reversible, but you can still be the best that you can be. And I mean, for me, so I have 2 compression fractures. My spine is not going to be perfectly straight, but I don't have any pain from it. I have no lack of mobility like I did. So even if somebody can go from, you know, 20% active to 80% active, that's such a huge improvement. Now, with you as somebody that's in the alternative modalities, okay, you're not just a Reiki
master
massage therapist, but you're a Reiki master and you teach.
Right.
How does nutrition then fit into your practice with that?
It's going to be a huge part of it moving forward. I can honestly say I took it for granted because I've always been generally healthy outside of these couple of surgeries that I had previous to this injury. Like I said, I would have a stomach of steel, so I could eat all kinds of gluten. I could eat anything, and I never had to look into that until this injury. So now that I understand it, and I see there's that shift that generally happens in people. I grew up in Arkansas, and so there tended to be this understanding that once you hit about 40, you go downhill, and you know, God bless them. In Arkansas, they're still living off Crisco, which Dr. Joel Wallach educated us about. It's got petroleum in it. Our bodies do so good to try to clear out these toxins for 40 years, and then it just can't seem to handle it after that, right? It just starts to break down for 40, 50, 60 years old. Pretty much everyone seems to come down with some type of illness. And now I understand, and I've made that connection to that it's our gut health. It's about these, they're calling them foods, but the toxins. And we have been told that it's okay. And, you know, we trust the FDA and we think that we're getting good information. And that's part of Dr. Bobby Price's story too is he worked for the FDA, and then he took all this information in and he showed it was just going down into a black hole, that people's feedback about things. And so that's part of the reason he moved away from the Western model as well. And I feel like I'm going on a tangent again here. So reel me back in. What was the question?
How are you going to be able to incorporate the nutrition in with your practice as you are getting to where you're able to now, after, like you had said, you had plateaued
Right.
for 5 years of
Symptom control.
not really thriving.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be kind of the foundational information moving forward, is that we have to take care of our gut. By the time we're 40, 50, 60, we're going to see this breakdown. We're going to have illness come into play. And so if there's kind of a waste of energy putting all of our money into any of these extra type of things, whether it's pills or whether it's even energy healing. It will help you with mental, emotional stress and relieve the pain, but you're not going to be able to give the nutrients every single day unless you're giving yourself energy healing every single day. And I did that for many years, and it still is not quite enough to help the body have what it has to have, which are these basic nutrients and building blocks of these cells. So that's going to be a foundational part of my classes. I'm going to write it into my Reiki manuals. I'm going to help people understand we have to have this level of cellular rebuilding built into it. And then the energy healing, or of course, there's a place for all of the Western doctors. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for these surgeries that I've had. They literally saved my life. So immediate surgeries and getting us through the roughest periods, and some of these pharmaceuticals as well as the painkillers help us get through the toughest times. But we also have to have the part that's rebuilding at the core of our body, while having these extra add-ons help us get through the rough times, is how I see it and how I'm going to be teaching it moving forward, for sure.
Yeah, I see it being a great kind of marriage.
Yes.
Coming from the energy, bringing in the nutrition for the cellular support. You're supporting the body as a whole, and then bringing in the energy healing as well. So I think it's a perfect mix.
Perfect marriage.
And
it is.
Yeah. And you
need the nutrients.
Living testament making.
And what was that?
You're a living testament in the making of it.
Oh, yes, I am. I'm a statistic. I'm a living statistic. No problem saying that. But yeah, I think if we can all wrap our minds around having the nutrients every single day, so that our body has what it needs to be rebuilding every single day, every hour of the day. And then just like I would do with my clients, if they had a bone issue, a structural issue, then I'd send them to a chiropractor. Just if they've got a nervous issue, then nervous system issue, then Reiki is fantastic for it. Acupuncture is fantastic for it. So if there are certain diseases and illnesses, conditions that I was always trying to figure out, who do I refer to for this? And that's where the nutrients came in that I was missing. So it's more than that. It's more than just an extra referral. It's literally everybody needs it, because it's going to help every single system in the body. And so it's not just an add-on. And I'm literally piecing all this together in my own mind, so you can kind of see me as I'm talking out loud here. It's fascinating to me. I love learning this, and it's going to be fun to teach everyone as I go.
Absolutely. So we do have a couple questions. And folks, just as a reminder, that this program is a resource to an amazing community. So if somebody shared this program with you, please make sure that you get back with them. If you have any questions, we will be asking Rheána what it is that she's taken that she has found to be the most beneficial for her body as a whole and her gut. But we have a couple questions we're going to get to before we do that. So we have a question coming in. It says, how important is it to shut everything such as stress, everyday things to mental health healing? So maybe that might be shut off. And then it continues from the same person. My brain cells need health nurturing with nutrients. How do you manage to regulate chemical meds and Dr. Wallach's catalog of supplements?
Did you want to answer that first and then I add on?
Well, I'm thinking maybe the question is going directly to you and the importance of shutting off everything such as stress, everyday things to mental health healing, I mean. And then go into what it is that you specifically are taking as we kind of combined the two, because they're asking about managing how to manage regular chemical meds and Dr. Wallach's supplements.
Okay, so mental health medications and the nutrients.
I think that's where it's coming from.
Yeah. The first thing that hit me with that question is I wouldn't recommend shutting off anything. So I think of ourselves as a moving energy body. And as soon as you shut something off, then it tends to coagulate, right? And get stuck. So instead, if you're able to think about moving through and transmuting. And I was just doing an inner child healing session with a friend recently, and it all comes together here where essentially teaching the inner child what transmuting means, how to transmute something. And I was teaching the child, it's sort of like a piece of ice, and you know that the ice can melt into water, and then the water can evaporate and turn into mist and then eventually disappear. So that's what we're doing with our mental health and with all these strong emotions. Their energy, it's energy that's all built up, that's trying to go somewhere and trying to move through that transmuting process. So if you can think of it in this way, it helps to keep it moving. And I'll share some of the techniques that I use personally. Maybe this will be helpful. Is with PTSD, I had a lot of that after the court case that I went through and all the gaslighting that I dealt with from doctors as well as attorneys, and just the trauma from all of that was intense. And so I would have these moments that it all comes up and you can feel it fill up your entire body and you feel overwhelmed. And that's what a lot of people are experiencing in different contexts with mental health. And so literally what I do is I force my hands down and I imagine myself like a pillar and force the energy to move out through my feet as well as up through my head. And we'll use the word funk for a little kid. You would teach the kid to say funk, right? So scream really loud and put every bit of that energy into forcing the energy to go up and out as well as down through the feet until you shake all of that energy out. And that's been one of the most powerful healing techniques that I've personally just used it this morning. In fact, I had some trauma come up surface. And so that could be a really powerful technique to move the energy first and get it out of your body. You can also like direct it into a tree You can take a bat and beat up boxes, whatever you need to do to get the energy out and move it in a healthy way without hurting anybody or in a threatening manner in somebody's presence. So that's the most important piece. If you can do that, you'll feel that shift generally in your own body. And I do recommend getting the support with the medications and following the doctor's um, recommendations. But the nutrients are going to, in my experience, I can only speak from my experience, I imagine, and hear from you, this is what's happened with you too, Becca, is you feel energetically and emotionally and cellularly supported by them. That's probably the best language I could use for it. It gives you a foundation in your own cells that you're held and supported, and starts moving you out of the funk that you're in, whatever version of funk that might be. Does that help?
Yeah, and well, there's something that I'd like to add to that from my own experience is I would bury my feelings. I would bury that trauma from the different experiences through life. And I found out that they were actually blocking me having that still hidden, unresolved, from being able to move forward and be the best me that I can be.
That's a huge part of it. And being comfortable with our own emotions. And that's part of what I learned in the contemplative psychology program at Naropa, is that the entire spectrum of the human emotional experience is to be meditated with, to be accepted, to be allowed. And if you can create that type of relationship with emotional energy, then it gives space. And with the inner child integration aspect of it, you can take that into every single day. You want to create safety for children, and you want to create that safety within your own being. There's generally a hurt part of ourselves from our childhood that is looking for safety. And if you can allow that space, whether it be anger or disgust or grief or some of these really, really tough energies, to just say, okay, that's what I'm feeling right now, and that's okay. And we're going to create safety in this space. We're going to allow it to be here, and then we're just going to hold space for it. And then eventually, if we keep holding that safe space for it, then it kind of relaxes and it starts to dissipate. And that's the transmutation process that just naturally comes. But if you're blocking it, if you're denying it, if you're shoving it down, it doesn't have the ability to transmute and to turn to mist.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that, because I was holding it. I may have buried it, but it was actually still being held captive within me, which was holding myself captive to that, because I didn't want to deal with it.
How did you find safety to deal with it?
I went through a class that taught us how to release it. And that was it was transformational. That was about 5 years ago, I think. And that really then opened me up to be able to do what I'm doing today.
And what was there a certain technique that was taught in the class? How to release it?
I can't remember the exact name of the technique, but we'll have to go into that another time, as we are coming up at the top of the hour. We do have more questions, folks. If we did not get to your questions, please send us an email, questions@dailywithdoc.com. If they have to do with symptoms that you're experiencing, we have direct access to the man himself, Dr. Joel Wallach. And if we don't already have his protocol, we will get the protocol that would be a best fit for in helping you achieve your goals when it comes to this thing called health. Because we're all about not managing poor health. We're not managing sickness. We're about supporting the body, giving the body what it absolutely needs at a foundational level first, and then do those what Dr. Wallach calls secret sauces to address the other things that may have been caused either due to nutritional deficiencies or trauma, because there are some things that are trauma related, physical trauma, that can be supported because the body was not made as junk, folks. It was made to continually regenerate cells, and the healthier stuff that we put into our bowels, that go into our bodies, the healthier the cells will be created. Rheána, thank you so much for joining us today. I really look forward to continuing just being on this journey with you and seeing how you are able to continue to grow. And the grow is more restored back to you being able to fully do what you were called to do and your purpose as an energy healer and helping others, teaching others, train others, not just work as one-on-one individuals, but training others how to do it as well. You are fantastic. Your journey is just so encouraging to not only myself, because it wasn't just me that benefited from this, hearing your journey as well. And I know it's going to touch the lives of others. So thank you so much. I know it was like short notice and everything. If we could get my co-hosts on, and I have people continuing to ask questions, please send us questions at dailywithdoc.com. There are some things that have to be addressed individually, and this may not be the appropriate place for it, but if I could get all of my co-hosts on, thank you so much. I couldn't do this without my co-hosts. They help make this run smoothly, as there are so many different avenues to it, factors of setting up the streams, making sure that the video and sound and everything is just right, pushing it, capturing the stream, then pushing it out to the different platforms. I couldn't do it myself. I mean, maybe, but not be able to still run the show and be level-headed about it. So thank you so much, Albert, as he's helping to let people in and keeping an eye on things. Rod also letting people in and also out on the different platforms and helping with questions and bringing questions into the show as they come up. AJ doing the same, as he is responsible for many of the platforms that we are being shown on or viewed on. So wherever you're at, let us know where you're at. That way we know the success of our work. And Sherry, who's part of our technical team and helping everything get set up. Thank you, Sherry. And the production manager who helps keep us all organized, Ruth Ellen Sanchez. I just appreciate each and every one of these people. This is just a small handful of our team. So folks, if you have skills that you would like to bring to a team that as a whole help others, make sure that you get back with the person that shared this program with you. And if there is no one to thank, give our call team a call and say, hey, what can I do to help? What? Oh my goodness. So we send out a newsletter, and folks, if you're not part of our newsletter, you need to go to our website, dailywithdoc.com, sign up for our newsletter. As AJ put a newsletter together that said, or showed Rheána with one of her precious cats. And I just love this picture. So he was making a comment that you didn't bring the cat on with you, so that made it so that it was false advertising. But no, we can't.
We'll bring her next time.
we'll bring her next time.
Yes.
Awesome. And I love the fact that we can, have some fun on this show as well. Folks, thank you so much for joining us here on Daily with Doc. And I didn't get to the phone number, 855-949-3377. Give us a call. One of our certified holistic health coaches will answer that phone and be available to help you figure it out what is going to be the best. I didn't forget Albert. I said thank you, Albert. I didn't I, Albert? Albert, and I forgot Marty.
Yes, you did, but you didn't say hello to Rod.
Oh, yes, I did. Because he's out on the platforms bringing in questions. Don't confuse me. I've got this. Everybody, have a fabulous day. Thank you again for joining us here on Daily with Doc. And don't forget, as an empowered individual, you have more control over your own health journey than you think. We are going to be having Pharmacist Ben on tonight with Pharmacist Bites. So make sure that you watch for that on all the different platforms, as he and AJ will be going live at approximately 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. And then Pharmacist Ben will be on Coast to Coast tonight with George Norrie from 10 to midnight Pacific time, which is 1 to 4. Is that really 1 to 4 Eastern time? Oh my goodness. Diehard fans, folks. And I love the fact that Pharmacist Ben is so adamant about getting the message out, that he's staying up in the wee hours. And Dr. Wallach does it too. Thank you, Dr. Wallach. Because if it wasn't for radio, I would not be here. Everybody, have a fantastic day one last time. Bye for now. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.